I want it to be Christmas time, Vince. How's
Yes.
that?
Well, we can sing Jingle Bells if you like. Yeah. But certainly, yes, I've never called it direct looking before, but it's a good description. Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, Vince.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
You two know each other?
No.
No.
Mm. Oh well. Yeah. We're all strangers for a few seconds with each other then.
Mhm.
Yes. Good to see you both here. Yeah. Two new faces for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hmm.
Mm.
Are you both in Australia? I guess you are. I know you're in Australia, Vince.
I am. I don't know where Sarah is. Where are you, Sarah?
I'm in Hong Kong.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
In where?
Hong Kong.
Oh, Hong Kong. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And where are
I'm
you, Michelle?
I'm in the UK.
Right. Okay. So we're all over the place. Yeah.
Hmm.
And Bianca's in Poland. So, yeah. So tell us where you're up to, Sarah, with this stuff.
Where am I up to? So I'm I don't know how to answer that. I guess regular meditation practice. Recently went through recently was guided with Liberation Unleashed, a guide on Liberation Unleashed, and yeah, here I am.
Right. So did you see through the illusory self at Liberation Unleashed?
Um, I think I was thinking. I thought you might ask that, and I was thinking about how I would answer. I would say um, close, very close, but not quite Christmas time yet.
Right. Okay. Good answer. Yeah. All right. So Michelle, tell us where you're up to with this stuff. Or give us a bit of history. When I say where are you up to, I just want you to start talking. What the
Right.
rest will happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard to say, isn't it? I don't know.
Mm.
I feel like I've been, like a seeker my whole life from, tiny, thinking there's something going on here. This isn't right. This is all strange. So it feels like my whole life I've had a sense that none of this is real. And so that's caused all sorts of, like I suppose like mental health issues. I'm now a psychologist, so I've been really a lot of my sort of more seeking has been like in that area and like what is this suffering? This suffering is unbearable. And then I suppose then spending time with different traditions, in Buddhism and different like always like looking, trying to make sense, trying to understand. And so I think there's been a lot of like there's a constant like restlessness through, like suffering, like constantly looking for like where's the end of the suffering.
Mm.
And
Mm.
and I would say more recently, I think I'm sort of now more. I mean, I think the two things are important. That's why I like the embodiment element, the consciousness aspect, but also the human aspect. Like we have to like consider both. I find myself going between the two. And so when I'm in a more sort of what I call like a spiritual phase, it feels really obvious to me that like I don't the Michelle character doesn't exist, and it's very like soothing, and it means like a lot of my like maybe the emotional pain subsides, but it never lasts, and it does feel more like it's a sort of conceptual. It feels more conceptual. Like I feel like I know it to be true, and it's obviously true. And yet, as soon as then, I can wake up the next morning and it feels like, and all of the emotional pain, it's all there and it's stuck, it's so sticky. And then it feels like all of this spiritual stuff, it's like so far away. And okay, I still know it's true somewhere, but right now I'm just in the suffering, and the suffering seems true. So it's sort of that, like moving back and forth, but it feels like it's so heavy and sticky, you know, all of the
Mm,
selfing stuff.
mm.
So yeah, I don't know if that's kind of answers the question, but it feels very angsty, you know. I have little
Yeah,
moments of
yeah.
relief, but it doesn't last very long.
When you have one of those moments of relief, would you say that that would you say would you I don't know quite how to put this. Would you say that you've got it, or that you've entered a different direction, or is it just what? How would you describe those moments of relief?
It does feel like the story drops. It's a bit like, it's almost like as though I like the story's all on a screen and I see like the edge of the screen, like, and as though, oh, the story drops, and so I can put the story down, and so I sort of know it, and it does feel like it's not like my mind goes completely quiet. It doesn't, but it feels like the whole story of me, which is a particular story, you know, and not a
Yeah,
good one,
yeah,
just stops. And so I feel like I feel calm, I feel neutral. I think I would also say I feel kind of detached. I don't sort of feel embodied joy or bliss or anything like that. And it does feel like it's probably I can keep it maybe whilst, you know, there's nothing much happening and I'm on my own.
mm,
Usually then when I go back into, like, as soon as I have to move back into say work or something, it
yeah,
just all
yeah, yeah,
comes back again. So and I can have
yeah.
I can remember what it's like, so I can hold a little thread going, I know this isn't real, but it might as well be. It's like I can't, at the moment, I can't then disattach from pain or tiredness or, you know, whatever it is. It's so frustrating.
Mm, mm. So what jumped up for me as you were describing that is that you seem to have expectations about what it should be like, or what it will be like when you quote get it, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess this the whole angsty fence, you know, the really attached to stories, no feeling my mood being pulled around, like all like emotions, you know, thoughts, story, like all the intensity of that. I suppose I'm hoping that that would, well, it's like one of those times when it's just no longer there, or I don't feel identified with it in the same way.
Right. Right. So one of the elements of that story about how we hope it will be, or how we imagine it might be, is that it will be permanent.
Mm. I guess so. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. What if I said that what's happening for you right now is perfectly normal? It is exactly what needs to happen. And what is happening is that you are having moments, let's say, outside of the usual dream, into a
Mm.
different dream, and then
Hmm.
the old dream comes back.
Right. Yeah.
Now, when that old dream comes back, how do you feel about that? What's your usual reaction, emotionally, intellectually? What kind of reaction do you have?
Yeah, well, obviously I don't welcome it. I
Yes,
feel resigned, defeated, annoyed, like what's the point? I give up, you know, all that kind of stuff.
yes, yeah, 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 yeah. And can you see that reaction is very much in keeping with the old dream, the old way of doing it?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
it's part of, isn't it? It's part of the suffering that you
Hmm.
experience.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Okay.
it's the worst part, isn't it? It's that restless feeling like I need to do something now. Like I need to do something. Like I've got to fix
Yeah,
this. It's like this
And
gone
the,
wrong. I need to do something, and what should I
right,
do? And I don't know what to do, and it gets more and more like,
yes. So the way
yeah.
you say that, you say the word do and the word fix and so on. And it sounds to me like you already know how I'm going to respond to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it sounds like what I'm taking from what you're saying is when I notice it, like the story all coming back in again, there's something about like being accepting or allowing or not fighting with it or just allowing it to be as it is. That
Right. Okay. Good one. Really tricky point though, right? If I said, yes, that's right, what you're saying, how are you going to do that? Can you do that? Have you got control? Do you know what your next thought's going to be? Can you shape your thoughts? Can you shape your response? Obviously not, or you wouldn't have those experiences.
mm-hmm.
So it's right what you say, but how you're going to get it is not by exerting willpower. It's not by
Sure.
focusing on a fix.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to happen when you accept what's happened. But how do you do that? Well, you can't do it.
Mm.
I love saying this one to people. You're fucked. There's nothing you can do. Absolutely.
Right.
If you take what I say literally, you're helpless.
Mm.
Helpless sounds like a pretty shitty place to be. It's not a good place, to be a victim, to be helpless. But you know what? It is a portal into accepting. Can you get that there's a flavour of helplessness where you give up? And if you give up, not in resignation, but if you give up willingly,
Mm.
invitingly, you're there.
Mm.
You've got it. Now,
Right.
having said that, doesn't mean that you can do it, but having had this conversation means it becomes a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that the idea will pop up for you next time it happens that says, I wonder if I can willingly surrender to this shit that's turned up.
Mm-hmm.
And if that thought turns up, guess what will happen? Who knows? But something.
Right.
Very likely, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's important. I can have a sense of what you're saying because I think what I do is I sort of give up, like I resign, and so it's which is different. It's like I sort of disengage at that point and think, oh fuck it, you
yes,
know.
yeah.
But I can see it's sort of like remaining present with it, with the acceptance rather than just collapsing or something. I can
Yeah.
see the subtle difference.
Well, again, you be careful that you don't fall into the trap of thinking, "Oh, I can do this. If only I know the right thing to do, I can do it."
Right. Yeah.
What if we just go a bit further with it? What might happen? How you can describe what happens when you give up is that you cease to build a wall that we call resistance. You cease to make something out of nothing, which we call resistance, and then that's what you're arguing with. That's what you're fighting with. You're trying to climb this wall that wasn't there a minute ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
It's a bit tricky, but you just got to remember, I can't do anything. All I can all I can pretend that I've got control over is watching it. And watching will happen or not, just the same as everything. It'll happen or not. So if you can say, oh, watching it, it's a thought. Okay, let's do that. And then you watch it, and then next thing you're lost in it. And then the thought comes along saying, hey, Michelle, you were lost in it. and you go, oh, right, I was, okay, and I'm looking at it again, and I'm lost in it, and I'm looking, and I'm lost in it, and I'm looking, and I'm lost in it. What we're doing is changing habits, changing old ways of being that are there automatically. They're there. One way I would describe it is to say they're there because all of the conditions necessary for them to be there are all present and lined up in the right way. And so consequently, that happening is there. And we've only got to change one of those conditions and the whole thing will change. It depends on all of them being in the right place. And of course, we can't do that. We can just play with it and see what happens. So, yeah. I'm loving what I hear from you. I'm loving that you've got an attitude and you've got enough experience already to build on. That's a big thing. You've seen those. You've had those moments of. Forget about bliss. Bliss, bliss is beautiful, and it will happen. But you're not going to live in it. You couldn't live in it. It's like having a perpetual orgasm. It's just not going to happen. And if it did, you wouldn't want it. It's exhausting. So it's just, you're going to have moments of it, for sure. One of the things that Sarah said about direct experiencing that comes to light here that's relevant, I think, is that when you do have those moments, you can remember that you had them, but you can't remember what they felt like. It's just like in the morning and it's cold, you can't remember what it feels like when the day's hot. And in the middle of the day when it's hot, you can't remember what it felt like when it was cold. Well, it's the same kind of thing as that, you know. So direct experience generally means you don't lay stuff down in memory because that requires a narrative, that requires meaning. And what we experience in those moments is something that's pretty direct. It's outside of story. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, this is going to be great. You'll get good stuff out of this. Are you going to be called to your flight any moment, are you, Declan? Can't find the unmute button.
Got it. Jesus.
Yeah. It's hard on the phone, isn't it? Yeah.
It was like you were reading my mind though. Yes, I'm going to get called for my flight any minute. No, I can't find the unmute button. So any minute now he's going to say, stand up, Declan, start walking to the gate.
Yeah.
Vince is controlling me.
Right.
I just kind of got 10 minutes and that. It's really lovely to join in. I was really bowled over by what Michelle was saying. I thought, oh, she's really articulately describing a lot of the stuff that I feel as well. And there's I don't know if comfort is the right word, but there's I think it's comfort. You think, okay, I'm not as crazy as I thought. That's and listening to your responses it's that kind of, there's a slight glee in your voice, Vince, when you say you're fucked, and that always makes I just think he's enjoying this. He's enjoying our pain. Well, glad somebody is. But I kind of feel okay. I feel a lot calmer than I have done for a few months. I think it's who knows. I don't know. But, yeah. Thanks.
I like that.
And it is odd, like Michelle was saying, you kind of do, or what I think of as me, sees the story, sees things now and again, and then it slips and, that sticky kind of pain of everyday life is back again. And then, like you said, Vince, it's a process. Just keep going with it.
Yeah. And when you have the first time that you have the experience that those same things would have caused you suffering, would have caused you to feel really bad, and you see them there, but something's different about it. You've just seen them from a different perspective, and all of a sudden they're the same thing, but then they don't carry with it all of that pain that they used to.
You know that's so true, Vin, so true. But I don't know about the pain bit, but it's so weird. It's like the past few months, even what I would have called depression years ago, it just feels like this strange sadness that I can't quite get a handle on because I can't work out why, and there is no why. It's just there or it's not there. Is it there? I don't know. It's a sensation. Who knows? But I think what I'm hoping, or the expectations, is that in some way it'll be easier. But in actual fact, I don't even really know what easier is or what easier looks like. It's just,
Good.
it's all like, that's kind of not spoiled now, but I just don't think that exists. Or, God, sorry, Vince, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like you say, it feels different. It does feel different. Yeah.
Hey, Declan, don't be sorry. It's really, I applaud the I don't know bit. I love it when you can't describe it when you don't know. That is really excellent and exceptional.
No, it's
Is that you?
Yeah, I need to. I need to go just to prove I'm not lying.
Okay, you have a good flight, eh?
I will. All right. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, see you later, Declan. Yeah. Sarah, you heard so far what we've been talking about. I'm really interested in when you say you kind of saw it. You're muted again. Wrong button. That's it. You got it.
Okay. Can you ask me again? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, when you said you kind of saw that the self doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. What I've observed is, difficult to say in terms of much more ability to feel love and feel great, feel really good. So, but actually, does that translate into the I ceasing to exist? I don't know. I don't know if I'm less identified with the I and so feeling great, or I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, yeah, all right, good one. Yeah, good trick. Yeah. So that if I say to you that what we have in our experience, and others will forgive me for repeating here, but what we have is a bunch of stories that we've been collecting since we were very, very young. It probably started at the same time that we developed a sense of I, at the same time we recognise ourselves as separate from. Right? So maybe 18 months, 2 years old, somewhere like that, I don't know. That we've been collecting these stories about us. The first one was our name, and the first one was the name of mum and the name of dad and so on. And we collected these stories all our life. And we have now a bunch of stories, a huge number, enough to fill a big book. They don't make up the I, they're just stories, right? They're the ideas that you have about Sarah. But when you respond to those stories, especially if you respond to them, well, in any way, really, but especially if you respond to them with a sense of ownership, a sense of me, mine, my, that stuff, that's where what we call identification. That's the identifying with. It's not the stories, it's the belief in them. And that belief in them is the glue or the connection to them. And it's those things that give us a sense of self. I emphasize sense, a sense of self, right? There is no actual self in there. There is no inherent characteristic that you call a self. And that's what you're discovering. Now, once you've recognized the conceptual nature of the I, of the self, you're still left with responding to those stories because you've been doing it forever. It's a habitual thing. And language almost forces you to do that. Language is subject and object, and there's you as the subject in every sentence you say. And so it's really impossible and very, very difficult not to have a sense of self. And it doesn't matter if we know that the sense of self is a creation. It's not an inherent characteristic. Right? I love this analogy. In a cup, there is no cupness. A cup, if you put a cup on a table in front of you and look at it, what you're seeing is shape and colour and form. And what you apply to it is meaning. And that meaning has the label cup. And the meaning is it's something to contain a liquid to drink out of. That's not in the object. That's in what you know about it. If an alien was to land on this planet and we put a cup in front of him, he probably wouldn't know what to do with it because he drinks like a dog anyway or something. Who knows? It's just, all I'm saying is there's no cupness in a cup. There's no sereness in you. That's all applied. That's the meaning that you give it. That's the conceptual nature of the self, just in that. So what we're talking about when we recognize that there's no self is how strong is the identification and what suffering does it cause to have this identification? And so the seeing through the self is not a big deal. That's not the end of anything. It's the beginning of something, really. So it's the first recognition of the difference between what is actual and what is conceptual. And the only thing that is actual, absolutely the only thing that is actual, is your current experiencing. And that is actual for you. I'm not talking about what's out there in the absolute. We don't know about that. We only know our interpretation of that. And that's what's relevant for you because you're the one that's interacting with whatever that unknown thing is. So everybody lives in their own unique world. We simplify things to a simplistic level and imagine that we're sharing the same world, but everybody lives in their own version of it. Everybody. It's absolutely unique for every single person. So when you experience, get the word experience, that what happens that you might describe as not having a self, that's it. That's where you are beyond the conceptual level. That's where your experience is where what is actual. And that's so what we're aiming in a way not to live in that place. We can't live there permanently. We need words. We need an ego. We need a sense of self. You can't go to the shop and buy something without a sense of self. You need that. But you need also to know that it's not actual. It's just a useful conceptual tool that we've got. Now I'm talking too much, so, so please tell me what your response to all that stuff is.
Well, one question comes to mind. How do you marry up saying that we all have a unique experience and then thinking of non-dual experience? So
Yeah.
the merging of my experience with all others' experience and
Mm.
with the experience of trees and plants and unified experience.
Yeah. Great question. No answer. There's no answer for that. So what I imagine has happened is you've picked up some knowledge or some information that somebody has told you or you've read or you whatever. So the oh, this is really hard. The experience of oneness will almost certainly happen for you at some point in your evolution with this stuff. But it won't happen before you're ready. It won't happen with anybody saying anything. No words can do it. Although it seems like, especially if you attend non-dual meetings enough, and you might get to that point seemingly magically, it might appear that words have done it, but they haven't. But essentially, no. All I'm saying is it's too early in the game for you to even think about that one. Don't play with it. Don't go there yet. It'll happen when it happens. It's like if I tell you you're going to experience emptiness that's absolutely full, chocker, emptiness that's full. You're going to experience fullness that's empty. You've got no idea what I'm talking about, have you? Yet those were things you will experience. You may have already experienced it. By the look then, I thought, maybe you've already had a bit of that one. Yeah. But you can get the paradox in the words. The words can't do justice to it, can it? It's got to be just an experience that happens.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. But I think so. You maybe could you elaborate a little bit about when because what's my question? So talking about the unique experience of each person, when you say that, do you mean that the path that each person will follow will be unique? Or
No.
what do you mean?
Yeah, all right. So again, this is something that others have heard before, but it's a good one also. I like to repeat it. Right? If I line you up next to me and Martin there and his dog and somebody's cat and a cricket and a frog, and we all look at the tree, every single person is going to see it differently, right? You're going to focus on the leaves and I'm going to focus on the trunk. Martin's dog's going to see it in less colours than you and I do. The cricket's going to see it in the ultraviolet spectrum. The frog's only going to see movement. Who's right?
Mm.
What I'm saying is what we're looking at is unknowable. all we have is our interpretation that is determined by our perspective, which is conditioned by our whole history, including our DNA. So that's why I know it's unique. I know it's unique because nobody has the same history as anybody else. Everybody sees things according to their own experience. Right? So if we can say what that tree actually is, what we call a tree, it's like the cup in the cupness. The treeness is applied by our conceptual description of what it is. Right? But what is actually there, nobody knows. It's unknowable. Even if we were to take some of it and put it under a microscope in a lab, they're going to look at the leaf, they're going to look at the bark, they're going to look at the sap, whatever they look at. It's not a tree, it's components that we put together that we call a tree. Like your body, how do you know that you've got a back to your head? You don't. You imagine you have, and everything that you know tells you that you have, but you don't know that you have. If you touch it, you'll have a sensation in your fingertips, and you'll have a sensation back there, but it still doesn't add up to the back of a head. It just adds up to sensations. So you don't even know, this idea of having a body is also just a concept. And it's a concept that we include fingers and arms and feet and legs and every bit of the body. You don't know that you've got a liver. You've been told you have. You imagine you have. And you probably do have. But regardless, you don't know that. It's just a concept for you at the moment. And you can see that all of our concepts, somebody's making a lot of noise here. I'll just mute Martin in case it's him. It is. Okay, so when I said before, the only thing that is actual for you is your current experiencing. And your current experiencing is already gone and finished. It's now another current experiencing. The one that we had a second ago is now just a memory, if you remember it at all, if you've got something to remember. But you tell me anything that is not anything apart from your current experiencing that is actual. But before you tell me, just check and see if it's not a story about something. And if it's a story about, it's a concept. It's not the actual thing. It's only about it. Now, the whole point of pointing this out to you is to get you to grasp the difference between what is actual and what is concept. Once you get the difference, it ceases to be important. It's irrelevant almost after that. But until you get it, you're going to continue to mistake some concepts for what is actual. Right? So you go down go anywhere where there's people and put a cup on the table and say, that's not a cup. They're going to fight you. They're not going to accept it. They're not going to get the fact that the cupness is purely a post-it note on reality. It's what Panella says, a post-it note on reality. It's a beautiful saying. It's an applied meaning, just as the self is. So what is actual? Once you get that, once you break the link to that you believe your thoughts, that say that concept is truth. Once you've broken that link, then we can move on to the next step. But we've got to get past that link first. And the whole idea of seeing through self was to help you recognize the difference between what is actual and what is conceptual. Now, this one gets a little bit trickier. People will say, oh, I've got it intellectually, but I haven't got it viscerally. I don't, my body doesn't get it, but my head does, kind of thing. Well, that's a tricky one, It's like they're saying it's limited, but you're not actually going to have one without the other. They're linked in a way that you can't have only an intellectual understanding. But it is a case of what it points to. And even if you've got it intellectually, if you fully understand that the self is just a bunch of stories that you react to, then you're open to experiencing how that happens. So another concept that is integral, that requires a foundation of a self, is the concept of control. I'm in control. I can do these things. Well, that's a load of rubbish. Things happen, but if you think you're in control, then control your thoughts. Don't think of a red elephant now. It's not possible. You can't control your thoughts. They're going to happen the way they happen. So once you get the idea that control is also conceptual, you stop struggling. You stop feeling bad if circumstances line up that say, well, you weren't in control of that and you should have been. That's where the suffering comes from. So we've got to break this link where we believe our thoughts. And if we can break the link that says, I might have got it, but I don't know if I have. Well, that's just a story. And it might be accurate. But the moment we go, is that true? And we start to look at what is our experience, you'll see that story becomes irrelevant. Tell me about your experience, that moment of, see, I can't even say seeing. Knowing is not right either. Tell me about your experience, that momentary experience you've had where you have experienced that full emptiness or empty fullness or whatever what it was.
Vastness, vast emptiness. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And in contrast to fullness. The fullness, the fullness is like, it's a little bit like whipped cream. You know how whipped cream has a beautiful texture, and that's what fullness was like. And the emptiness is just vast, vast emptiness. Yeah.
Infinite.
Infinite.
No beginning or end, just forever. Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
that doesn't happen with eyes open. That's a meditation experience of sinking back into the emptiness.
and that was the doorway that you went through metaphorically to have that experience. And the whipped cream analogy doesn't really do it justice, does it? It kind of gives you a slight flavour of what you're talking about, but can't even begin to.
No,
Yeah,
no. That's like yeah. That's yeah.
yeah,
It's doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, that's like
yeah, yeah,
difficult to
yeah.
just.
It's words. I mean, that's it. Words. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why do I want to cry when we talk about this?
well, I have a sensation at my lips. It's like a fullness at it's like a yeah, it's like a extension, physical extension into the fullness. Yeah.
Mm. Did you do it?
No, 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 no. That was a um no doing no not doing more I want to say arriving, sort of arrived. Yeah.
Mm. And can you see that in the experience of that, the total lack of I don't know how to say it. No thoughts, no words, no description can even touch the fullness of it. Well, didn't mean that as a pun, but the can get even come even close to.
Yeah,
You can't transmit it. That's right. Yeah. But so what I'm saying, what I'm pointing out to you here is that it's beyond the ability of any concept
mm,
in your experience and to communicate your experience. Not possible.
mm, mm,
You could only say to somebody, you have to experience that yourself, and it will be your version of that to know even close, to even begin to know what it is I'm talking about.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting the discernible difference between the emptiness and the fullness. That's something that I mean it's all unusual compared to other experiences, but have the it's not an on and an off. There's like uh, maybe levels or um, flavors or textures that change.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what if I said there's a whole world? I have to use a metaphor at that level where you experience that. There is a whole world, a complete world. See, nothing works right, so it's not a. You know, what I'm trying to say is that's your way of getting into experiencing no self
Mm,
and all of the things that no self is a foundation for. all of the things that a self is a foundation for, don't exist at that level either. There's no control. There's no free will. There's no beliefs until you try and describe it.
Mm.
It just is the undescribable. I use the word this. I say it's just this, but that's pretty lame too. Yeah.
It's not this, like it's not only this, it's also that, and the, and and was, and when.
Everything. Yes. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Anyway.
So you have experience. What you said when we started was you kind of.
Yeah, it's not, it's, the emptiness is readily available, the fullness less so. And like I say, the capacity for love is quite high at the moment, and surprising, that's surprising in itself. So there seems to be, it kind of seems to be evolving, changing. The fullness hasn't been there for some time. Yeah.
Mm. I get the feeling that you're experimenting with this a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Don't you?
Mm. Mm. Oh, I want for you to see that it's a doorway into another world rather than that it in itself it is something. It's an opening for you into something so expansive, that infiniteness again.
Okay.
So instead of stopping and experiencing that, it's like you've come across this wonderful flower and you can't move past it because it's just so wonderful. The smell of it, the look of it is just so great that why go anywhere else? But in fact, if you were to look up and look around, you're in a meadow full of those flowers and there is no end to it. It's just there, hugely big. And in that place, you can kind of turn around and look back at this world, the world of concept, and start to recognize all of those things that they talked about at Liberation Unleashed. Start to look at the reality of responsibility, of control, of choice, of decision, of intention. All of those things can be seen from down there in that place and seen to be only concept. They're up at the level of description, but they don't have any inherent actuality.
So is that place more like playing? Is it more
Well,
playful?
very, very much playing, yes. Yeah. It's a place of discovery, a place of, and if you imagine kids playing a game, no matter what it is, like when I was a kid, it was Cowboys and Indians, that we played a lot of and that kind of thing. Well, what's happening when they're doing that is they're not just doing that. That's just what the agreed theme of what's going on is. What they're doing is they're discovering running and hiding and surprise and all sorts of things are being discovered with that. And that's exactly what this place is. It's a place of discovery, place
Mm.
of recognizing.
Mm.
Now, interestingly, you kind of already said that it's a place that happens sometimes. Now, I see it's a place is the wrong way to put it too, but you get what I mean. We could, but it happens sometimes. It happens when you're meditating. It doesn't. It's not there all day, every day, kind of thing. Well, that's absolutely fine because you can't go to the shop in that state, can you? You need to. You need. But to know it exists is absolutely huge. That is what takes the shackles off. That's why they call it liberation. There is this infinite opening to what is possible. And that's what we're got to be careful we don't get in the trap of saying, "Oh, I want to live there. I want that all the time." Now, that's not going to happen. But knowing it exists means that we can visit it almost at will, even though there is no such thing as at will. It seems like that, yeah. Thanks, Martin. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, talking about that stuff kind of throws me into it a bit, and it makes me. I run out of words. I don't know what to say. I talk too much anyway. It seems. Yeah. But I want to tell you guys: be relaxed. Jump in. Don't wait for permission to talk. If you've got something to say, just say it. Yeah. It's really informal here. And I'd much rather you talk than I talk.
I was just wanting to ask, it's a very prosaic question, but the thing that I find more difficult is I can have a sense of, because it's obvious that the sense of self is not there, like there's nothing there, but the identification with the body, particularly because I've got like various health things, like it's really strong. And I think that's where I sometimes, even my mind, I can't quite find it difficult to grasp the sense of, so I can have a sense of like, maybe something like, okay, so if there's an idea of a me inside of a body, I can see, well, there isn't one. But yet when I come to the body, it's like, oh no, but I am
Yes,
for the body. The body
it's
feels,
mine. Yeah.
and so that feels, I don't know what to, yeah, I feel like I can get stuck with that. I don't know what could help to disidentify from the body without doing it in a sort of bypassing, I don't know, because obviously there's still a reality to it, and I'm probably
Yep.
sometimes
Yeah.
neglectful of my body, so it's like I can go either way, like too detached or too identified.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. It's a tricky one because what happens is that the mind comes up with a story that the bodily sensations seem to confirm, and then it becomes a circular thing. The mind confirms the body, and the body confirms the mind, and so we get this belief again that happens. This body is an absolutely amazing thing. It's just how it does what it does. I have no idea. You know, where do these words come from that I'm saying? Where do the thoughts come from when they turn up? How do my feet know what to do when they walk one in front of the other? They just, and I'm gobsmacked at the magic that seems involved in the body being able to do what the body does. And if I try and look at it, it becomes really obvious that a lot of it is a mystery. I could probably go to science, to biology and physiology, etc., and find a story that seems to explain it, and it could well be true, most likely will be pretty accurate. But regardless, that's just a story to me. So really, this whole body thing is a mystery, and sometimes, Jesus, it gets old. Here I am getting old. I'm going to die one day, probably, most likely, almost certainly. Things go wrong, as well as all of the wonderful things that go right. I can make up a story that, well, my lungs are the way they are because I spent the first 25 years or 30 years of my life smoking cigarettes. Probably true. Might not be. I don't know. Maybe it's genetic that my lungs are the way they are. Is it my body? Is it this body belong to me? Well, that's really crazy when I think about it. Does this body belong to me? Who is this me that it might belong to? What is this belonging? What is this body? None of it makes any sense. I have to have an actual I for it to belong to. Otherwise, it's just a body. If a tree grows in your front yard and you call it your tree, legally, as far as the council is concerned, it probably is your tree. But is it actually your tree? Does the tree think it belongs to you? It just happens to be there, doesn't it? Just like this body just happens to be there in all its magicalness and all its frailty and all its everything else. It's just there. And somehow it seems like this we experience thoughts and we imagine that these thoughts come somehow out of this body. We go, oh, that must be the brain that's producing these thoughts. Probably is, but we don't know. These thoughts are just like this body, are just like that tree. They just happen to be where they are, doing what they do. And where's the sense of ownership? Now, that's an interesting one, and that's a really important one. The sense of ownership, the feeling that it belongs to me is a tangible, although subtle, but a tangible feeling. We will get to, we always get to at some point, the difference between thoughts and sensations. And when we get down to look at sensations, we can't really say exactly what they are, and we can't really say what they are, but we know we've got them. We know that there are these things called sensations. Now, if we say sensations, we can say physical, tactile sense, an experience that fits into that. But if we say feelings, then we go, well, you know, a feeling is a sensation with stories attached to it, right? And the stories are what gives the sensation meaning that we call a feeling. It's just like the stories of we drink out of this container is what gives the cup its cupness. And so the stories that are attached to the sensation turn it into a feeling that gives it meaning. But if we can look at the sensation, and you can look at your sensations and look at them really cleanly, really purely, just what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? How would I describe it beyond using labels? So once we start to get, again, out of the realm of words, we can experience a sensation. It's there. At a label level, I might say, oh, it's in my stomach area. But really, is it left or right, centre, up or down, whereabouts, that? So I can only get a feeling for where it is, or rather a sensation. But the sensation's not got clear edges. It's moving, it's changing, it's fluctuating. I can imagine a colour that might be associated with it. I can imagine a heat, a temperature that might be associated with it. But it gets way, way too complex and too subtle to be able to use words to describe that sensation. But when we get down to that level of experiencing a sensation, we can see quite clearly that the sensation contains no instruction, no information at all. It is just a sensation. It's the meaning that we give it with the story that we attach to it that says it's mine. But that story we respond to. And when we respond to it with feeling, if we're really sensitive, we can get in touch with the sensation that we call identification, the sensation of it belongs to me. It's my feeling. It's my body. It's my sensation. It's here. It's in me. And once we can recognize that feeling of ownership, it dissipates. Simply seeing it is all it takes to dissipate it. Yeah. For some reason tonight, I'm doing a really shitty job of guiding people. I'm telling you stuff that is too easy for you to file away as information. So in order for you to get value out of it, you need to do, even though we can only say those words, but you know what I mean. And so hopefully the intention will arise again. It's another shitty word, that you can actually go and experience whether or not you can find any information in a pure sensation. And the moment you can't, you'll recognize that it's just this body. Nobody owns it. It's not responsible for anybody or to anybody. It's just this body. No different to that tree or that blade of grass or that bird shit. They're just things that appear, and there they are in the form that they are.
That seems easier to do than maybe I've heard some non-dual teachers talk. I guess the idea that like there isn't a body. Sometimes I think that starts to get so abstract. Like as though there's nothing. The whole idea. I can see it's conceptual in what we make of it, but even sort of the idea that there is no
Yeah.
body existing at all. I think that gets to such a point that I think I get a bit annoyed at that point because it's like
Well,
that's so
absolutely. You
abstract.
should. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, because there is this thing we call a body, but what they're saying is that the word body is a concept.
Mm-hmm.
That's not denying the existence of the organism.
Right.
It's just saying that to give credibility to the concept as if it were actual. That's the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if I say, well, I walked across the room and sat down in this chair to have this meeting tonight. You know what I'm talking about. You know that I'm what I'm saying. But I had no thoughts about that. There was no intention. There was no willpower. There was no conscious putting one foot in front of the other. All that stuff just happened. And it happened the way it did. And here's another story, simply because of all of the circumstances that enabled it to happen that way were all present and lined up. But if I say I did it, that's just another story. If I say it was me walking across here, am I trying to communicate to you that this body arrived and sat down? That's a kind of a reasonable intention for the story, but it's not accurate. It's just a way of talking. But all language is like this. No language is really accurate. It's all just a simplistic version of what actually happens. But we've been brought up to believe that it points to something actual.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the suffering is. We've been brainwashed to believe shitty stories.
Right.
And there are better stories. The funny thing is, and it really is quite hilarious, is that we've got to use shitty stories to tell the better stories. So if you experience something along the lines of, I must be this body, look for that sense of identification, that sense of ownership.
Mm.
And you don't get very far before the whole thing falls apart. You realise that it's just quite ludicrous to even think about in detail. If you say it and don't think about it, it sounds credible. But the moment you think about it, is there a contract between some mythical I and this body that says it's my possession, I own it? It can't be, can it? How can there possibly be? It's a belief. It's just a story. That doesn't mean it won't feel like it belongs to you.
Mm.
And it will until it doesn't. And I'm not making light of that. It will. And each time you recognise that, that happened. I felt like it was mine. You'll immediately go, okay, interesting. How did I feel that? Where, what? So, as a psychologist that we get triggered by circumstances. And what we say when we get triggered is that something comes alive, and it could be a memory, it could be an emotional reaction too. Very likely, if it's big enough to come to your attention, it will be an emotional reaction, and usually that emotional reaction will cause suffering, and that's why they'll bring it to you to work with. I used to feel very much that the way to fix this was to shine a light on what the original trauma was and show that it's no longer necessary, that it was as it was because of a naive child's experience of what was happening or whatever, Nowadays I say we don't need to know. We don't need to know what it was. We just need to see our connection to it. It's like, so there's a story, a metaphorical story, that it exists only as potential until it gets triggered. When it gets triggered, we actually create something out of nothing, physically nothing. Right? But the memory and the story that we've got that comes to light because of that reminder that we call a trigger, we respond to that. But we respond to it in the now, right at this very instant. It's not been living in us waiting for a moment to scratch us from the inside. It got triggered and it got created, and it's all happening now. And so if we see the identification in it, our connection to it, very quickly we can recognise that that's a story. It's not actual. The sensation, the response to it, that's actual, but that's unnecessary. We simply need to recognise our identification with it. I say simply, but it's not a simple fact at all. But once we get it, once we get that this feeling of mine, this subtle feeling, if we can just find our way to recognise that, then that's the linchpin for all of this identification stuff. Yeah. And once we do, that's no instant fix. We've still got a lifetime of habit to change, but it will change pretty fast because every time we get triggered, we'll go, there's that again. Look at that. And it loses its power. Yeah.
I'm going to need to go. I found this really helpful, and thank you, Vince. I've really enjoyed listening to you, and you've given me there's a few things I can definitely take away, which is kind of what I wanted. A few things I can go, okay, that I'm going to take away with me that's going to be helpful, I think. So
Great.
I look
Well,
forward
and
to another.
hopefully you'll come up with a whole lot more questions and bring them back. I'd like to
Yeah.
see you again. I'd love to see you again. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. I wasn't just being something about saying I've talked too much. It was a genuine feeling of talking too much. And while I spoke incessantly, John, you were there very, very quiet. Did it make sense to you, any of that stuff?
Uh, Yes, it does. It does. I mean, like a lot of others, I think. Well, you talked about that intellectual understanding. No, I've had more than an intellectual understanding of. Well, I haven't seen it as no self or no I, but certainly what I would normally call the I, is not there. And there's just this. That's the best way I can put it. But I guess my experience, and I think I alluded to it the other day, just before the meeting, I left the meeting, was, and I think this is a fairly common experience, is that I have that experience, and then I am very, very firmly identified with my stories and things. They feel, my stories feel very solid, and so my sense of self and suffering self particularly can be very strong at times. But it's interesting, and I haven't been here very long, but just actually hearing you speak and being reminded and trying to put it into practice isn't quite the right word, but just reminding myself that when I have an experience which brings up emotional reactions, or any reaction really, but I mean, I was doing it today, and just having that question where I think in some of your writings, or your words, you say, what's the glue, and that can be another thing for the mind to want to grapple with too. But anyway, I've found all that quite helpful, because my personal circumstances have lately been very reinforcing of stories, and particularly, this suffering self. Yeah, that's about it, really. I think I would sort of characterize my difficulty with, which seems so plain to other people, it would seem so, but my mind says, yes, I accept that, but there's always a but.
Yeah.
If you can relate to that. Yeah.
That you resonated with the word glue. Do you see that is just another word for identification?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you, and here's the crux of it, do you get that is revealed by a really subtle sensation of ownership, of it belonging?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I think about as far as I get is that I feel there's something here experiencing this, which I suppose is just another way of saying I'm identified with it. Yeah. Rather than, I'm at my best moments, I can just, like you were referring to just before, there are just sensations here. and very quickly the mind will come in and label those sensations.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm having an interaction with my son, who I have lots of stories about. I mean, he has some real challenges in living this life, but you know, I'll be just having, you know, if I look closely, a bit like you were talking about the body, I mean, there's just this other human being in front of me. Even, you know, a son is already a story, and very quickly the son who has these challenges is overlaid on this very simple interaction, you know, where words are being said, and sometimes there's reactions arising here, you know. Yeah, sometimes I can see that, and sometimes I'm just lost in it.
Mm,
Glued,
perfectly reasonable. Yeah.
stuck to the stories.
Mm. We don't need to arrive at a place where we go, they're only stories, and dismiss them. So some stories are really accurate and some are not. And the response you have to those stories, particularly when it comes to interacting with family members and especially your own children, they're very, very real reactions to them. Now they may not be mandatory. There's a possibility that they're optional. The reaction to them, not that. It's the meaning that we apply to these things that give it the juice that we respond to. And if that meaning arises from beliefs we have about ourself or about him, or about circumstances, they may be accurate or they may not be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that they're never the whole story. That's for sure.
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
and yet, I suppose that is it is kind of a real situation to be dealt with, you know.
absolutely, absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
I get that the story is never the full story, or the whole situation, and yet I am this personality, this
Yes,
being
exactly.
here,
Yeah.
having to deal with this situation, and
Yep.
and at
So
times,
it's the stories, like the background stories that we're not aware of frequently,
yeah,
like stories like, if I don't feel compassion, that means I don't love him, kind of
yeah,
story. You know, it's a bullshit story that we can respond to in a way that gives rise to emotions that aren't really appropriate.
yeah.
I mean, that was just an example. I mean, I don't,
Oh
who
yeah,
knows whether it's
no,
yeah.
fairly accurate. You know, like, or
Mm.
things don't work out, or you know, the way I expect, and in fact they go the way they've gone many times before. You know, or it can arise. Oh, this is hopeless. You know, this is
Yes,
hopeless.
yeah.
Um, and I also acknowledge that that's not all just his stuff. It's my stuff too, underneath the
Mm.
surface. You know, underneath the
Yeah.
surface. Yeah. Anyway.
And none of it's wrong. It is what it is. If it's there, if it turns up, then it's
Yeah.
there, isn't it? It's done, you know. We just have to, well, we don't have to, but it's really good if we can see stories that turn up that make it spiral off into something else. If we can say, for example, a story turns up that says it shouldn't be here, then we react to that one, and we're not even reacting to the original situation.
Yeah.
We're reacting to the idea of how we think things should be.
Yeah.
Extra stuff that is unnecessary. Yeah. But you're going to feel intense emotion without doubt about that. That's the way it is, you know. You react with, you interact with your
Absolutely.
kids, especially if they've got problems. Boy, you know, how can we not feel that stuff?
Yeah. And I guess another thing I think that's helped be engaging with this work again, because it's not the first time I've engaged with it, but it's certainly your approach to it is, I guess the last time I did some work on this was with my last teacher, I guess, even though he wouldn't like to call himself a teacher. But anyway, it was, if you stay in that sense of, all you have to do is stay in that sense, not that you can stay in it, but remind yourself about, he called it your essential nature. If you contact that, then that's all you need to do. And everything will work out. Not everything will work out, but yeah, that's
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
And for some reason, I don't know whether that was just my mind. I mean, it was very helpful working with him, because I did get a real sense of what he called essential nature, and not the big lights enlightenment stuff, you know, blew that out of the water really, which was really helpful. And yet I came away thinking, I still have to live my life, you know, and struggled with that, have been struggling with that. So anyway, what was I saying? Can't remember now. I think I've lost my train of thought.
All right.
Anyway,
I do that all the time.
I found it helpful engaging with this stuff. Oh, that's right. I think because, say, in an interaction with my son, where maybe I'd find irritation or frustration arising, which it does, and you know, and I'd have all sorts of stories about, you know, failure and not being a good father. And now I think re-engaging with this stuff has helped me, just allowing that to, you know, I've got no control over it. It comes up, maybe it expresses itself, maybe it doesn't. But then I just see those sensations, and
Yeah, there's some kind of a reminder about
feelings coming through, and then they're not as sticky as they used to be, maybe. If I can just stay with it, you know, and not get lost in the story making.
Yeah. So every time you realise that you've been lost, or every time you realise that something has happened, that realisation is a really big step in bringing you up from that stuff. And it's not going to happen instantly. Every experience is an opportunity for you to, that's, I'm not meaning that to sound like it's a job, but it does present, and whether that opportunity is utilised or not is another story. But essentially, it'll offer itself to you as a learning experience every time. So all that shittiness has got inside it the goodness of the opportunity to learn something. And if it keeps on coming up and coming back, then it's simply because it takes a few lessons for us to get the message. But it will happen, because you're in the classroom. You would, if you weren't in the classroom, maybe it wouldn't happen, but you're in the classroom for sure.
No, that's a perspective that you mention quite often, and even that is good. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but it's good to be reminded.
Yeah, my heart goes out to you, John. It's a tricky situation.
It is.
Mm.
It is.
And listen, anytime you want, you email me, no problem. Anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I was going to start to contact you for a one-on-one, and then I followed the links, and anyway, I thought I might email you anyway, just to talk about how to set that up.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
There's
Yeah, I've got,
PayPal and things that's doing, seem to be adding costs to what your suggested price. So anyway, I thought I'll contact you privately about all that.
yeah, do that. No worries. Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
And don't you worry about the cost. We can sort something anyway.
Oh,
No
no,
problem.
it's fine. That's fine.
Mm.
Yeah.
It might seem like a funny thing to say, be given how you're feeling, but my sense is that you're in a good place. As difficult as it is, you're in a good place to. You're open to see things that are outside of the normal for you. That's good.
Yeah, look,
Mm.
I'm in a pretty good place at the moment. A couple of months ago, I wasn't. It's interesting. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how much to make of that too, but I have just found over. I mean, I listening to Declan speak at different times about depression and things, but I think I am definitely of a melancholic temperament. But that, I mean, no, that's a story as well. But there definitely seem to be seasons in my life where ups
Yeah,
and downs, and I think that is just how I'm wired, no
yeah.
matter how good or bad things are, it's just ups
Sure.
and
Yeah,
downs.
I
So,
get
but
that.
yeah,
But if
no, a couple of months ago, I was in another trough or slough or slough,
yeah, a
despond,
deeper
whatever you
place.
call
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, but I guess one of the benefits of being a little bit older is that I've experienced myself through these and know that I've gotten through them before, and so just hanging in there is,
yeah,
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 so there's
yeah.
something to that.
We definitely accumulate a bit of wisdom as we get older. Eh?
Yeah, I guess,
Mm.
I guess so.
Mm.
Doesn't always feel like it, but yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Especially in
Yeah.
the down bits, we
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey,
Mm.
Vince, can I just ask you? I mean, might be perhaps a silly question, but why do you do this work?
That's a great question. Oh, I get asked that a bit, and
Yeah, right,
I've never come up with a good answer.
right.
Why do I? Look, I can come up with stories
Yeah,
that kind of make sense, but I the best story I can come up with is it makes me feel good.
fair enough. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty good story.
Yeah. I look, you're going to have me crying in a minute. I never experience the overwhelming sense of love anywhere else but when I'm doing this stuff. And sometimes it just pours out of me in a beautiful way. I just feel so good about it. Yeah.
I actually feel it, Vince. I feel it.
Mm. Yeah.
It's quite obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've made me feel it again, John. Thank you.
I'm starting to get a little emotional myself, Vince.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Well, it's time for it's time for me to go to bed, I think.
I think it's time for me to go to bed too.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Vince. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
John. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.